Hi there. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an audio player in Webflow that can be custom designed in the Webflow Designer and can also play audio files from a CMS collection like this example here. So I'm just going to press play. And as you can see, I can jump ahead and jump back in the audio file by clicking on the progress bar. You can also skip ahead. Pause here, and also another audio file to play from this collection list element. So what's happening here is I am filtering songs on a certain album on this collection template page for albums. So the way this is working is inside of the songs collection, I am referencing albums from the album collection, and then on this page dedicated to each album, I am filtering the songs by current album or current CMS item. So lots of flexibility here. For example, you could also do this for playlists. Also for podcasts, you could create individual pages for each podcast episode. Okay, so let's get started with the installation. So first off, the app we're going to use to enable this is called SuperSparks. So the first step, if you haven't done so already, is to register for SuperSparks. And then once you do, you will be redirected to this page where you will be required to authorize the site you would like to add SuperSparks to. Also, I will provide a link in the description to SuperSparks. So yeah, I'm just going to authorize SuperSparks onto this website. And then once that's done, I can get started with the installation. So the first step is to click Add Sparks. And then you'll see here there's a bunch of different features you can add to your Webflow site. And these are all included in the same plan, but the one we're of course going to select is the CMS audio player. And then once we've created our first Spark, you'll see that the first step is to select a CMS collection. So if we just jump over to this Webflow project, which is kind of a blank canvas here, I'm just going to go ahead and create a CMS collection dedicated to audio files. So again, this can be for podcasts or songs or whatever your use case is, but I'm just going to call it audio files. And then for the different fields, I'm just going to add one in here. It can either be a link or plain text field, and this is for the audio file URL. Okay, so we can get started now with creating our first audio file. So I'm just going to call this test file 1. And then here you're going to be required to paste the URL for an audio file. So there's a few different ways you can do this. It used to be possible to just simply paste a Google Drive URL, but Google disabled the ability to render audio files from a Drive file. So the next best option, or probably the next simplest option, is to use Dropbox. So Dropbox is free up until a certain storage threshold. But yeah, basically all you have to do is simply upload an audio file. And then once you do, it should become available here. So in order to get this to work through the SuperSparks app, you're just going to first upload an audio file. And then once you do, so as you can see here, I have these 4 audio files that I've uploaded. You're just going to share the link And in order to do this, you just have to make sure that this is shared for everyone or anyone with the link. So just double check that this is switched on. So yeah, all of these links are set to anyone with the link. And then once you do this, you can just copy this here and then paste it into this audio file URL field. Okay, let's create another audio file here. So just going to add a new record or item. And then once I do that, I'm just going to go back into Dropbox and then going to paste in its respective audio file URL. So in addition to using Dropbox, you can also host your files on AWS, Google Cloud, so any cloud storage provider. And another one I recommend that is made just for Webflow is FlowDrive. So yeah, through FlowDrive, you can also upload audio files directly through your Webflow site. And yeah, through these different cloud storage tools, you'll be able to generate a link that can also be rendered through this audio player. Okay, so now that we've created this CMS collection and added a few items, we can just now publish the site on staging. And then if we just refresh in SuperSparks, we should then be able to select this collection that we just created, and then also select the audio file URL field. Then once that's done, we can move ahead to the next step. So the first step is to actually create the audio player itself. So this will be kind of similar to the audio player that you would see on Shopify or SoundCloud, where it's kind of just a space dedicated to the different audio player functions. So displaying the currently playing audio file and all of the different functions that I showed you earlier in the video during the demo. So play, pause, skipping ahead, the duration, and the progress bar. Okay, so in order to set this up, I'm just going to show you a very basic setup on this blank canvas here. So I'm just going to create the audio player here. And then inside of the audio player, you should then add in a collection list element. So I'm just going to do that here. And then this collection list element is just going to be for the audio files collection. So that should be set to the source. As you can see, all of the CMS items are being listed here. And then you can also add in a text field inside of the collection item element. And then this is where the currently playing audio file will be displayed if you just connect the text to the name field. Okay, so now that we just have this very basic setup here, we can proceed with the next step of the SuperSparks installation. So I'm just going to copy this class here, and then I'm just going to paste it. So yeah, I would advise creating a parent class first. So just and then you can paste in the SuperSparks class here. And then the next step is to also add in an embed element within the collection item element. So to do this, you can just go to code embed, and then you're just going to paste in the code snippet from here, and then click save and close. And then you can also hide this here. Okay, so then the next step is to proceed and add in just the minimum audio functions here. So the first one is for play button. You can't really have an audio player without a play button, of course. So I'm just going to add this in. Actually, I'm just going to create like a top area for the different audio functions. Drag this up here. So I'm just going to call this audio functions. And then I will just add in a link block here. And then I'm just going to add in an icon for the play button. Okay, so I'm just going to select this one here, and since all of my icons are white, I'm just going to change the background here to a darker color. So I'll just also change the color here. Okay, so I've added in the icon here, so this link block element can now be used as the play button. So I'm just going to do the same thing here. So I'm just going to give it a parent class and then add in the SuperSparks class here. And then for the pause button, I'm just going to do the same thing as well. Then I'm just going to add in the pause button class from SuperSparks. And then once that's done, we can move ahead to the final steps here, which are to add in this script tag to any page where you would like to add the audio player. So I'm just adding this to the home page right now. So once I do that and click save, you'll see that the next step is all of these different extra functions. So these are all optional, but I'll also go through the process of adding these as well. But yeah, once you're done, you can just also click go live. So this will just add a webhook to your Webflow site. This way, whenever you publish your website, our app will be notified and update the audio files that are playable within your website and audio player. Okay, so now we can actually get started testing. So I'm just going to publish this. Again, this is super ugly, and I am sure all of you can make a much nicer looking audio player than this, but yeah, here's an example of kind of what's possible. If you're ever in doubt, you can also take a look at this free template of ours, and you can reference it just to see how things are set up. I'm also going to provide a link in the description. Okay, so let's test this out now. So the first audio file that's playable will be the test file number 2. Play when I click the play button, and then also able to pause. So yeah, you can also set which order your audio files are played in. So you can do that by just going to the collection list element and then sorting the order here. So you can sort it by the creation date, or you can also add in custom track numbers. So if you just added a number field here. What is wrong with me today? Okay, track number. You can also create a custom order here. So I'm just going to set this to 1, then set this to 2, and then you can sort the order here. And then if we publish again, you'll see that this gets updated. Okay, now on to the extra functions. So if we just go back here, you'll see that the first one you can add is a button for skipping ahead to the next audio file. So I'm just going to add this into this div here. So again, just going to add in another link block. Okay, so then I'm just going to add in the icon here. And then I will also just do the same thing. The previous button. So just actually make the parent classes the same. And then I'm just going to replace this with the previous icon I added. And then I'm just going to copy this class for the next button here, and paste it in here. And then also going to do this for the previous button. So let's just add this. I think we can also just center this so it looks a little bit more symmetrical. And then for the play and pause button, you can also add a similar interaction here to show the pause button when the play button is pressed, and then vice versa for the pause button. So the next one is the progress bar. So this one is a little bit trickier. So first off, I'm just going to add in a div down below the audio functions here. And I'm just going to make the height pretty narrow. And then I can just make this, I don't know, 60 pixels, relatively wide. Just make sure this is all aligned too. Actually, we want that outside of here. Okay, there we go. So let's maybe make this a bit bigger. Then just fix that. Okay, now to set up the timeline select and progress bar functionality. First off, I'm just going to give this div block here a name. And then I'm also going to add in another div block here. So this is actually going to be for the progress bar itself. So this will dynamically increase as the audio file progresses. So I'm just going to set this to 0% as a starting point. And then for the background here, I'm just going to make this stand out a bit from the background. So let's make this a light gray. And then for the progress bar, I'll just show you what you can do, but you can basically make this any color you want. So for example, you can make it kind of a lighter gray here. And then also you can add this functionality. So using the interactions function to show a different color when the progress bar is hovered. Okay, so I'm just going to set this back to 0%. You can also add in a little ball here. I don't know what to call this, but you can also do something similar here just by adding in a div block, making the radius 100%. Then you can make the background color something, maybe red, I don't know. So yeah, I'm just going to call this progress bar ball. Okay, there we go. So then the next step is to add in the SuperSparks class for this. So I'm just going to copy this one and then paste it onto the progress bar div element. And then to add the functionality for timeline select to be able to jump ahead and jump back to certain points in the audio file by clicking on the progress bar. The process is quite similar, so you're just also going to add in a div block into this main div here. And then just going to fix this as well. But basically, you're just going to set this div block as an absolute overlay on top of the main progress bar div. So first off, I'm just going to make this div's positioning relative, and I'm just going to give this a name. And then just going to set it to absolute, and then set the absolute setting to full. And then I just want to make sure that the Z index is higher than the progress bar. Okay, so that's it for the progress bar. You can also add in text elements for showing the duration of an audio file and then also the elapsed time. I'm just going to add in a text element now. I'm going to change the color. Just going to give it a name. I'm just going to set it to a couple dashes here. Okay, just give this a name. And then we can use this text block here for the elapsed time. So I'm just going to add in this class for elapsed. Or actually first, before I do that, I'm just going to add in the same text element here just so they have matching styling. And then again, just going to copy this SuperSparks class and just add it in here. And then this is for the total, displaying the total duration of the audio file. So this will dynamically increase as the audio file is played for elapsed time, and then this will stay the same. Then one last thing I forgot to mention about the progress bar ball before going live is that you should also set the position of the progress bar div to absolute in order for this to work, and then also do the same for the ball. And then just make sure that the positioning is on the right side. So now if we publish, we should be able to see these different extra functions in action. Okay, so now if we press play, you'll see that the elapsed time is increasing. And I can also go ahead. Okay. Now the last extra function is for enabling song select functionality, like I showed you in the example project from earlier in the video. So in order to set this up, you're just going to want to create another collection list element. And then I am also going to connect this collection list element to the audio files collection. And then what I'm also going to do is add in a text block here inside of the collection item element. So I'll just call this song select wrapper. And then also just change the color here. And then connect this to the name. And then the next step in SuperSparks is to copy this class and then paste it onto the collection list wrapper that we just created. And then for the item element, which I'm just going to give a name, you can also paste in the second class for this extra function here. Okay, now you can also copy the play button from the audio file and just paste it in here. So I'm also just going to change this to a flex block and then just separate this a bit. Okay, can center it and then just add some space. It's maybe a bit too much. Okay, so then the next step is to also copy and paste the embed element from the audio player collection list element, and then you're just going to also paste it in here and then make sure it's hidden. Now, one last detail I wanted to mention before we test this out is that you don't have to use the same play button from the audio player. So yeah, you can make this basically any clickable element that you want. I just pasted in the same play button to save a bit of time. But yeah, you can really make this anything. Just make sure that you are adding this class to whatever clickable element you make the play button. So for example, I could just make it the parent element, and then when a user clicks on this text element, the audio file would be played. Okay, so after that is done, and if you publish, you should be able to enable song or audio file to select. So I can jump back to audio file number 1, then jump ahead to audio file number 2, and then of course you can do that, or users can do that for any audio file that's in the collection list element. But just make sure that the CMS items inside of the collection list element for the audio file select matches up with the collection list element for the audio player. And then it's also best practices to make sure that the order is the same as well. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you for the SuperSparks implementation. We are, of course, just scratching the surface of what's possible using Webflow CMS with this audio player. So in this example, I was just adding the audio player to a static page, but as I showed you earlier in the video, you can also add the audio player to collection template pages, like in this example here for the albums page, and then you can add in all sorts of different sorting and filtering and pagination and limiting options or settings inside of the collection list element, and then also using the reference and multi-reference field. You can, for example, show an album cover for the currently playing audio file and then also show an artist. So if we just take a look at the songs collection here, you'll see that it's also referencing an artist collection, which dynamically shows when an audio player is playing using the CMS reference field. And then you can also use multi-references to add audio files to multiple playlists. So yeah, when in doubt, just check out this clonable template of ours. So it's free to clone. You can also use it as a starting point. So if you wanted to do that, or if you wanted to use some of these components to paste into an existing Webflow project, just be sure to still go through the installation steps that I just showed you. So connecting the CMS collection, adding the script, and then you would also need to make sure to replace the class names for all of the different audio functions with the ones provided in the SuperSparks editor. So for example, with this, for the play button, I would just replace the class here with the one provided from the SuperSparks editor. Okay, yeah, I guess one last thing I could show you here is for podcast episodes. So this isn't using a reference field, but if you just take a look at the filter here, you'll see that it's filtered. So podcast episode is current podcast episode. So this means only one audio file is playable per CMS item page. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Do not hesitate to reach out or leave a comment if you have any questions. And yeah, thanks for watching and take care.